Welcome to Enterprise Services Client Briefing Centre. Hannah, if I can come to you first.
Yes.
You must have been listening with great interest to the Flemish experience there.
I was, yes.
Why is the same as important for Scotland?
Well, in Scotland, we want to be a leader in digital infrastructure, and we want to ensure that innovation is very much at the heart of everything we do from the bottom up, whether you're a micro business or you're a large business doing business in Scotland, across the UK, in Europe and beyond. And so the First Minister, when she came into power very early on, put in place the Partnership for Change, and that was about getting equality on boards. So 50-50 by 2020. So it's a big ambition. She brought into place a gender balanced cabinet within a few days. She has one of only 3 gender balanced cabinets in the developed world.
We like that very much indeed.
Good, I'm glad
we do.
You know, we believe that, as I know Hewlett-Packard Enterprise does, that our businesses must reflect society, and the reality is that they don't. And we have a long way to go. We actually in Scotland have more women in the workforce than any other country other than Sweden in the EU, so we're doing pretty well, but there's still a journey to travel.
Indeed. Jacqui, you were telling me earlier about mentoring for women in business. Explain to us a bit more about that.
Yeah, so let me go back to the beginning of the story here. Some time ago, about a year ago, the First Minister of Scotland held a women's business dinner in Bute House, which is effectively the number 10 of Scotland in Charlotte Square in Edinburgh. And she brought together quite an interesting group of ladies. So we had some very senior women from banking, Alison McGregor, who's the CEO of HSBC. We had some real women business leaders, Amanda McMillan, who's the CEO of Glasgow Airport, Aberdeen Airport, Southampton Airport, and many other ladies holding senior positions in academia. And as we talked round the table about how we'd been fortunate enough to be successful in all of our careers, we came to the conclusion that actually one of the things that would have been really helpful to us as we were progressing in our careers would have been some advice from other role models, whether it be women or men, in those positions. I think we would have benefited, from some help. So as a group, what we wanted to do was really give back to society and figure out a way that we could do a kind of, I think we called it at the time, a Mumsnet for women's mentoring. And being the only technology leader around the table, it somehow landed with me, and I think I volunteered as well to say, hey, what I'd love to do is take that away and figure out how we can understand a little bit more about how we can make a success of this unmet need, if you like. So what we did was we took this idea and we gave it to our graduate community and our digital hothouse team to take a look at and sort of explore a little bit more. And we have about 400 graduates in our graduate program at any one time in the UK. And they've got quite excited about getting sort of engaged in this process. And what we did was it's quite important when you're going on this digital transformation journey to understand what it is you're really trying to do, what need are you trying to meet. So we spent a lot of time really understanding what does a mentee need, what does a mentor need, and how can we really digitize that process.
And the example we're using here today is really female-centric. We are talking about this particular example where women were empowered by technology, and Jacqui was part of that conduit, part of making that happen. But of course, this translates to other sectors as well. Those business models are repeatable, if you like, in other sectors. How did Enterprise Services then meet that challenge?
That's right. So having brought together actually quite a varied community of people, we did quite a bit of work up front on the design. And then we had an event called a Hackathon where we brought together a lot of different communities. So we brought school children, we brought ladies from academia.
Really? Yeah.
We had our, Hannah was there at the Hackathon. And what we did was we ran a whole day event where we brainstormed what could this look like, how would it work, and what would make it a success.
So we're talking here about the innovative digital outcomes team.
That's right.
Profile those guys for me.
Yeah, so this is a very small team, and what they do is they use a framework and a methodology to drive out what the digital need is, how they can develop that digital need, and then they have a very specific rapid application prototyping process that means you can take that need and prototype it very, very quickly, which means that you can make changes or tweaks to it. It's a very agile digital process, and we use this process across many of our digital problems or digital challenges, and it's proved to be very, very successful. And certainly we have a number of different projects in flight at the moment where we're using the same methodology. But the reason why I like this one is it's a very good example of a completely unmet need in the market where there's a lot of passion and energy around developing something that can be a community project and can be successful both in our company, in the community, in government, and just help business be successful.
Hannah, you're nodding like mad there. Tell us what your involvement was with the hackathon.
Yeah, so HP had come to us to say, look, could we have somebody from the party involved? And I was at the time the Business Innovation and Skills spokesperson, so I was delighted to be involved. I also had a background laterally in oil and gas in the service sector, so I had seen firsthand the challenges of that sector and how innovation had helped and how digital had also played a huge part. But I think it's also about how the world of work has changed. We're now in the position where we have lots of people with small and micro businesses, operating them from their living rooms and from their homes. And so for individual women, particularly who are not part of necessarily a business community, to be able to activate something and engage in something that will give them, and reach out to them, I think is extremely powerful. So, it was a great process to be part of, and it's fantastic to see it, HP support it.
And the concept was tested in a Dragon's Den style setup, was it?
Yes, very much. Each group was grilled. There was a wide range of folk there questioning them. I don't think we were quite as hard as the Dragons, but I'd like to think that we put them through their paces.
So Jacqui, it was all stress tested then, and all before the winning outcome was arrived at, all the tests were put in place to check this was going to be the right way to go.
That's right, and I think what we discovered during the hackathon actually was that we were missing quite a few components of content and information. So not just the ability to mentor match mentees and mentors, but the ability to provide support and learning content. And that's where we brought in Max, actually, who's at the back here from Every Woman. So Max has an organisation that supports women's development across corporates and small businesses. And what she did was she brought a great flavour of all this content and support that could be brought to bear to support the women who were going through the mentoring process. And I think what she also said at the time was there is a complete gap in the market. There is nothing in the market that's doing this mentoring process. So it's a real business opportunity for women's development to see that go straight back into the community, but the ability to tag on different type of services, support services, material, content, education, training on top of the mentoring platform is just building it to the next stage.
So can you outline for us what the winning outcome was then? Is that possible to put into words briefly?
Yeah, so it's a very simple concept. It's the ability to match a mentor to multiple mentees, a mentee to multiple mentors.
And this doesn't just apply to the example we're using today about women. This is a general concept.
That's right. That concept could be applied to any kind of matching process. So we have another project that we're working on, which is about matching yoga practitioners to special needs children. So a similar kind of business problem where you're looking at matching two communities where it's quite important to have that sort of structure and, if you like, digitization around that process. But you can see we're starting to get quite mature with the types of things that we're loading in the process. So setting development goals, setting structures around meetings, helping the mentees understand the role of the mentee, and the mentors understand what's expected from them in that process.
So, Jacqui, where are you taking it next?
So right now, the prototype's completed and it's been launched here, and then we're taking it to pilot, and we're piloting in Scotland across multiple businesses. And then what we would like to do is take it into production, probably in around 3 or 4 months.
Briefly, Hannah, you excited about this innovation?
Extremely excited. I think if we're going to meet the challenges of skills gaps, of the productivity gap, it's an incredible idea, and I think the fact that we're testing it in Scotland, Scotland is an agile economy, it's a relatively small nation of 5.5 million people, but we're also full of innovators. Scotland invented the modern world, you've got to remember, so I think it's a great place to start.
Us.
Yes, so we're extremely excited about it, in the SNP and in the Scottish Government, and I know that it's something that will be embraced, I hope, across the UK and across the world.
Hannah Bardell and Jacqui Ferguson, thank you both very much for talking to us today. I think you'll all agree it's been a fascinating discussion today.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.